All right, this week in Linguistics 102, we're getting sociable with sociolinguistics. In this video introducing the week, I am going to recap the last week's stuff, preview the material we're covering this week, and remind you about things that are coming up in the schedule this week. So we've had a good look at variation across languages over the past 2 weeks with the language classification and Aboriginal languages modules. Before I get to the course content here, I do want to point out that there are a lot of resources available at the U of A to help students out. So here's a little summary of the things you can access if you need. I've put links to these resources in the description of this video. And so there's the stuff for current students, the Need Help Now resources, lots of stuff there. And you can find this graphic under the textbook and other resources section on eClass too. Okay, so to the material. This week we get a more fine-grained look at how languages vary by looking at speech communities. So we're not just looking at different ways of speaking that linguists would define as separate languages, but what we often call dialects, or more neutrally, varieties of a language. In this module, maybe more than any other, we do need to remain vigilant in our thinking and remember that linguistics is a descriptive endeavor, not a prescriptive one. One variety of a language may be more prestigious, more widespread, it may even be more efficient for communicating a particular type of information. But it's never a linguist's job as a linguist to judge one variety as better than another variety. Okay? And much of the vocabulary that you encounter in the first section of this chapter, it's there to help distance us as linguists from the reflexive use of value judgments that come with some of the language we're normally accustomed to using about varieties of language. Even a word that could seem as innocent as dialect carries a lot of baggage with it. So we learn about about different types of ways that languages vary. And also different causes for that variation. So languages can vary by place, giving us regional accents, by time, giving us intergenerational differences in language use, and they can vary as a result of physical or social isolation, where language varieties correspond to different social groups. As we go through the chapter, we learn about examples of some of these sorts of variation. And we're also shown a few ways that linguists study these differences in order to discover and better understand them. Okay. There are examples of language contact and its effect on speech, such as borrowing, code switching, and even the emergence of new contact languages. And this chapter dives deeper into how class and ethnicity and gender are expressed through language use. And because it deals so deeply with the social side of language, it inevitably comes around to the interaction of language with politics. So the chapter closes with some discussion of language policy and language planning at the political level. Okay, so that's a summary of the content. For this week, the main thing to remember is that on Tuesday, February 2nd, it's the day after I'm posting this video, that's when the first graded quiz is open. This quiz covers material from weeks 2 and 3. So make sure you've gone over that material, have a look at the practice quizzes for those weeks before you jump into the graded quiz. I'm going to aim to have the quiz marked on Wednesday so that when we meet on Thursday at the tutorial, you can bring any questions you have about the quiz. And we'll also, of course, talk about this week's material in the tutorial. So that's it for this week's video. So go through the chapter 14 of the textbook, do the graded quiz on Tuesday, February 2nd, and come along to Thursday's tutorial if you can. And as always, let me know if you have any questions. And don't forget to check out those resources if you want them for student support.